This is TWiT.
Sam, we got to talk about Tesla. We got to talk. What the heck is going on? The latest, actually, it's not even the latest anymore. Recently, Elon Musk took I would say, the crown jewel of Tesla, their supercharger system, and fired the woman who was running it and all 500 people running superchargers. Where does this make sense? How did this happen?
I think that one possibility is that
I'm sorry,
Elon
Sam. It's so mean to say, explain Elon Musk. It's impossible. I understand that.
I mean, one possibility is that Elon is so intent on proving that Tesla is an AI and robotics company that he is almost deliberately trying to kill the car business.
This, by the way, this story was broken by, I'm proud to say, Steve Levine at The Information. And we've seen a lot of rumors. Rebecca Tanucci was the senior director of the Supercharger Group. She was in charge of all charging, also destination chargers, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The rumor was that Elon was going to go hardcore and fire 10% of Tesla, right? And that she went against him.
And, yeah, she apparently pushed back on that and said, look, we're trying to expand the network. We've got new automakers coming in that are getting ready to start using the superchargers. We're trying to take advantage, get some of this NEVI funding, that's the funding from the infrastructure bill, to pay for some of the new chargers. We've got a lot of projects going on. We can't afford to lose 10% of our staff.
Furthermore, the brilliant thing that Elon did from day one was nobody's going to buy an electric vehicle if it's not as easy to charge it as it is filling up a gas vehicle. He built this crown jewel. I didn't buy Tesla till they put a supercharger in Petaluma. Now, it turned out I didn't really need one, but it just reinforces your confidence that you're going to go on a road trip or whatever. You can drive your car and you can get it filled up fast anywhere. And then, to top that off, massive victory in the last few months as automaker after automaker has thrown up their hands and said, yeah, we're going to switch over to Elon's next charger. We're going to support the superchargers. And someday soon, and I think Ford's already done this, you'll be able to charge your car at a supercharger. Big win for Elon because he makes money on all those cars that are not Teslas.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
Tuesday, according to the information, Tuesday, 10 a.m., Elon Musk said he would ask for the resignation of any executive who, quote, retains more than 3 people who don't obviously pass the excellent, necessary, and this is the most important one, trustworthy test. I have been super clear about this. Steve Levine got this memo. And then he singled out Tanucci and the Supercharger Network and fired them all.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly short-sighted. It's a really dumb thing to do, because consistently, what we've found in doing consumer surveys over the years is that the top barriers for EV adoption are affordability of EVs, because they are expensive, availability of charging, and the time it takes to charge. And from the beginning, from the time they launched the Model S in 2012, not long afterward, by early 2013, they started deploying these superchargers that address those last two, the availability and time to charge. They made charging much more convenient. They have done a vastly better job than any other charge point operator at creating a reliable network, that's both, widespread, in a lot of places, but also when you get there, the chargers almost always work. When you go to a gas station, it's very rare that you get to a gas station and the gas pumps aren't working. It's not at
all the time at Electrify America and other.
Yeah, Electrify
chargers.
America has been particularly bad.
Yeah.
But EA exists only. EA is the compliance charging network.
They clearly don't care.
Right. They exist only because Volkswagen got busted for Dieselgate, and part of their settlement with the government was that they would invest $2 billion in building out a DC fast charging network. And they have done, for the most part, a really miserable job of maintaining those chargers and making sure that they work reliably.
Yeah, because that's not part of the deal.
They're getting better, but it's still pretty bad.
They only said they'd build them. When I visited my mom a couple of weeks ago in Rhode Island, it was nice. I got to drive a Kia Ioniq 6, very nice vehicle. But the rent-a-car company budget says, when you buy a gas vehicle, you can pay and say, you just bring it back and we'll fill it up. You just pay, right? Not with an electric vehicle. They said, bring it back with 70%. Or what? I don't know. They're going to bill me or something. So I had to find an EA to charge it up. Learned a couple of things I didn't know. For instance, the EA chargers have 2 plugs, but you can only use one at a time. Did you know that?
Yes.
And there's no sign on
the
it.
EA station down the road from me here.
There's no sign on it says if somebody's using this, you go to a different one. It just has 2 plugs. So I, dumbly thinking, well, that means I can charge. I plugged it in, and the poor couple next to me got knocked off. Their thing stopped. They came running back and said, what happened? I said, I don't know. I plugged in. They said, oh, don't you know? Only one at a time. I said, where's the sign that says that? I looked over at another pump, and somebody put one of those "Hi, my name is" stickers on there that said one at a time. EA didn't even do that, right?
So clearly, you found one of the older chargers. They have over the last year they've been replacing a lot of the chargers, and the new ones just have one cable on.
Why did they have 2 if they can only handle one?
I have no idea. I cannot give you an answer to that question.
It's so crazy.
And I've never been able to get a good answer from anybody at Electrify America about that. But with Tesla, they've done a good job.
Yeah, the superchargers always work. Reliable. They're great. They're fast. There's rarely a line. They have, whenever they have a setup, they usually have many, many chargers available. It's very nice.
Right, and that's one of the interesting things. If you look at the data about the various charging networks, on average, Tesla actually has fewer supercharger locations than all the other networks. They have, I think, currently about 985.
It doesn't feel like that, number. Does it? Yeah.
But where they're located, and they have on average 12 chargers per site, whereas Electrify America has about 800 and some locations right now, 800 sites, but they only have an average of 5 chargers per site, or about 4.5 chargers per site. The one near me here has 6. A lot of them have 4 or 2, and so that's one of the problems. When they do go down, you end up, it's harder to find a site that has enough working chargers. And so there's all kinds of issues with these things.
And this is bad for EV adoption because people see this. Yeah. The truth is, most of the time when you drive an EV, you charge at home, and it's not an issue. I haven't charged it on supercharger in years.
That's the truth right now, because most of the EVs that are on the road have been built in the last 5 years. So they're new, and it's people that buy new cars. Well, the reality is, people that buy new cars are a tiny minority of the overall driver market. We sell in the best years about 17 million cars. Last couple of years, it's been about 14, 15 million cars. And we sell on average about 3 to 4 times as many used cars every year as we do new cars. Most people don't ever buy new cars. Most people buy used cars. And, for new car buyers, they tend to be a little more affluent because they have to be to afford a new car. So they're much more likely to be, they live in a single family home with off-street parking, and they can charge at home.
Yeah.
When you look at the used car market, it's about almost half of those people live in multi-unit dwellings, apartments, condos.
My son lives on a houseboat, and he has to charge his Tesla at a supercharger down the road because there's no other way to fill it. And in Paris, so, you would have to do the same. You don't have a way to charge a car. Yeah. But you don't have to have a car in New York.
I don't have a car.
You have a giant electric train that you can ride, which is really cool.
I do.
Yeah.
That's a much more efficient way of getting around than a car.
It's underground, but other than that.
no matter what Elon says, a subway is a vastly more efficient way of moving large numbers of people than putting a bunch of Teslas in a hole in the ground.
If we had a subway here, I'd ride it. We have a smart train, but it doesn't go anywhere I want to go, so it's not that smart. Also fired Daniel Ho, who was in charge of all new vehicles, including the Model S, the 3, the Y, the new vehicle being designed right now, or was it? No, it's not being anymore. He was a 12-year Ford executive, has been with Tesla for 11 years, fired. Elon writes, hopefully, how should I do the Elon voice? Hopefully these actions are making it clear we need to be absolutely hardcore about headcount and cost reduction. While some on exec staff are taking this seriously, most are not yet doing so. So you're fired.
If you want to be hardcore about cost reductions, maybe don't try and demand your shareholders approve a $50 billion payout for you.
He gets paid.
That $50 billion can go a long way to developing new products and building new chargers.
Steve Levine writes,
there's also been so much tumult going on behind the scenes over the last 10 weeks. On Friday, my colleagues Steve Levine and Becky Peterson, who are two of the best reporters on Tesla, they dropped this great long read. The headline is "At Tesla, a Wild Week That Defined the Company's Future," that kind of goes into one of the key moments that kicked off this period of tumult, which is this week in late February where Elon Musk simultaneously decided to just tweet out that the Roadster, one of their kind of successor electric cars, was going to be able to accelerate from 0 to 60 in less than a second, which was a big surprise to the entire team working on the Roadster.
And by the way,
I guess until that point,
you don't want that. I had a car that I had the ludicrous mode on my Model X, and I stopped doing it because I almost blacked out. It's not safe to
It's
accelerate.
ludicrous, frankly.
It's ludicrous.
And 99.9% of drivers on the road do not have the skills to control a car that can accelerate that fast.
No, that's dangerous. Here's the
and
great
that wasn't
illustration.
his only.
Wait a minute, I want to hear more.
Our
but I just
illustrations are fantastic.
I have to show this illustration of Elon.
It's really good.
So what else happened?
It was not the only crazy decision that happened that week somehow. In meetings with senior Tesla lieutenants, Elon scrapped plans for a $25,000 vehicle known as the Model 2 and accelerated plans to mass produce the robo-taxi, setting a goal suddenly to do so by the second half of next year, which came as a huge surprise to many of the people working on it. Musk had been promising that the Model 2 was going to come out soon for nearly 4 years. And just a month before, he told investors it was going to be ready at the second half of 2025. So he just shook everything up immediately.
He does say he's going to spend $500 million more on superchargers. There's only one problem, Elon. You fired all the people who know how to build them. But okay, never mind. Okay, I'm going to say
details.
Details. I'm going to say something that you don't often hear me do. I'm going to defend Elon. He did the same thing at Twitter. He cut to the bone, and we thought, you're not going to have a company in a couple of months because the whole network's going to fall apart. And somehow Twitter has managed, I'm not talking about the content, but technically it's doing just fine.
Technically, Twitter exists. Are you on Twitter? Most people I know have fled Twitter.
And I agree.
The content on it is
horrific. But he did fire most of the engineering team, and the site still runs.
It's true.
Right? So maybe this slash and burn, one philosophy is fire everybody because it's impossible to know who's wasted, energy and who's actually doing the work. Fire everybody.
No, it's not impossible.
It's not. If you're running a company, you should know that, especially if you've spent how many years, as he has, at Tesla. The person to blame for you having all that dead weight is ostensibly yourself.
Well, that's
You're
true.
The chief executive when all those hiring decisions were made.
But it is, okay, look. There's a form of agriculture called slash and burn, right? Where you just cut it all down and you burn it and you start over. And I think that's maybe not the best way to do it, but you can do it, and I think he's doing that. He's taken the sugarcane field and he's just burned it to the ground, And now he's going to see what breaks and build it up from scratch. I mean, it's worked.
It wasn't the result. Yeah, so so these decisions we're talking about are not the result of analysis that the problem with Tesla is that there is way too much waste in salaries, for example. I think that was the calculation for Twitter. Is like he basically said, okay, we don't need this many people. And this seems like a very emotional decision. And also, Elon Musk, unfortunately, is a megalomaniacal, narcissistic sociopath. And so people
you're being a little easy on him, Mike.
I won't mention anybody in politics. If your mind goes there, your mind can go there. But certain people with this personality, the truth is whatever sounds good in the moment. So, if he gets emotional in a meeting and wants to, in a meeting and wants to make a big deal, he's the dictator of Tesla. He can just say, fire everybody. I'm sure it felt really good for like 10 minutes, right? But this is a mindset. This is a personality trait or type, and we see more and more of this in the public sphere, unfortunately, and it never ends well. It really doesn't, and I don't think Twitter is a shining example of how great it is to have that kind of personality running things.
And, as a prime example of what you just said, Mike, with Rebecca Tanucci, she apparently pushed back on the number of people that Elon wanted to cut from the charging group, felt it was too many people given what they had to do, the projects that they were working on, and supporting all these other automakers coming in to use the superchargers. And she pushed back, and so he fired her and then fired everybody that worked for her. That's that kind of, in the moment thinking, that is just, it's foolhardy, and it's just a bad way of running a company.
Can we just tip a little glass to Rebecca Tanucci? That's a good leader who said no, Elon, and got fired with her whole team, but she went down with the ship. And just, what? Good for you, Ms. Tanucci. I hope you land well and you find a good job. I'm sure you'll find a better employer. That's what a boss.
I'm sure she has already been recruited by at least 3 or 4 companies that I'm aware of. That like Iona, which is the new joint venture of 7 automakers to build an even larger charging network than what Tesla has.
Hey, there are 500 people and a great leader who know exactly how to do that. And they're available right now.
They're pouring through LinkedIn profiles as we speak.
Or they're working on a startup, because that's what built Silicon Valley.
That's true.
Disgruntled employees who go off on their own and start their own thing. And
I do think it's notable that you have basically an entire 500-person company out on the market all of a sudden.
And that's the beautiful thing about the fact that they can't enforce non-compete agreements in California. The reason why you have Silicon Valley and so many startups in California is because people can leave and go and compete and do something that they think is better or smarter.
The Traitorous Ape. Traitorous Ape would be a good movie. I want to watch that movie. But I'm talking about the Traitorous Eight. This is, I think, what you were probably thinking about, Mike Elgin. A group of 8 employees who were working at Shockley's semiconductor lab in 1957. He invented the transistor. Found Fairchild Semiconductor. They were young PhD students Shockley hired to build the first microprocessors. They left, and the names you'll probably recognize, like Gordon Moore and Robert Noyce, who went on basically to not only form Fairchild, but then go on to found Intel and AMD. They called them the Fair Children. And that's because they had a bad leader, and they said, we can do better. And they did. And who's ever heard of William Shockley ever since?
I also I happened to mention earlier, we were talking about Perplexity AI, and I mentioned that it's better than Google and ChatGPT. It actually is founded by former Google and ChatGPT.
That's right. And Anthropic
executives.
Is former Google people. I mean, talk about that incestuous industry. AI is the worst. But do read, if you are not subscribed to the information, subscribe. I've been mispronouncing his name. It's Levine, Steve Levine, and Becky Peterson's fabulous long read. At Tesla, a wild week that defined the company's future. There's just one paragraph here that's, by the way, the pictures are great too. Here's Elon imagining the future. I don't know what he's doing there, but that's from Getty. This part about the Model 2. The team's initial goal was ambitious to pump out 10,000 Model 2s a week, 500,000 cars a year, twice as fast as the rate the Austin factory was producing Model Ys at the time. Eventually, Tesla planned to make millions of Model 2s. This was the low-cost EV that Elon had promised from the very beginning, right? The whole idea was you make an expensive car to fund a less expensive car and on the way down. At the robo-taxi meeting in late February, Musk tore up those plans on the spot. He told his team to get busy pushing out the robo-taxi on roughly the same timeline it had previously envisioned for the Model 2. It should be in mass production, the robo-taxi, by the second half of next year. By the end of the week, Musk's key subordinates were briefing their teams. Model 2 on ice for the time being. In the subsequent hours, as word of Musk's abrupt strategy shakeup filtered through the company ranks, there was wide confusion about how to carry out the orders. The robo-taxi was a concept at the moment, not a vehicle. He turns the barge like it's a speedboat, said a former middle-ranking Tesla executive.
And it's so funny to me that all this happened because some Tesla employees were like, oh, we're going to show Elon Musk a nice concept video of the robo-taxi that we're working on in the future. And he apparently lost his mind when he saw it and said, all right, we're doing that now.
You have to really be careful when you show people like Elon anything, because you don't. It's unpredictable what he's going to do. Anyway.
But if you don't show him anything, then he thinks you're not doing anything, right, and then he'll decide that you're dispensable.
Yeah.
Which is actually probably a good thing for most of those people, because you're probably better off working somewhere else for a boss who isn't going to, demand your entire life, be dedicated to the company. That's just, that's a terrible way to live.
One good thing though. They did stop any supercharger builds that the ground hadn't been broken yet. Those are stopped. But the Tesla diner and drive-in movie location on Santa Monica Boulevard is already well underway, and so they're going to continue that one. So if you're in Santa Monica, go get a dinner, a drive-in, and charge your vehicle. It's a great idea.
And there were 4 sites that were being worked on in New York City, in the New York City area, that they canceled. They already had the sites located. They had everything set up with utilities to provide the power and doing a lot of the design and permitting. They hadn't actually broken ground yet, but Revel, which is a New York-based taxi company that uses Model Ys for their taxi fleet, has been looking to have more sites for charging those vehicles. They stepped up almost immediately and said, yeah, we want to take over those 4 sites and develop the chargers, develop the charging stations there for our fleet. And there's other companies that are stepping up to take on some of the other sites that had been targeted for supercharger locations. BP Pulse, a division of BP that operates charging stations, is trying to get some of the proposed supercharger sites, and there will be others that are doing the same over the next several weeks.
I also love this Kremlin-like picture from the information of the Tesla executives on stage at Tesla's Investor Day in 2023. 16 executives, 5 of whom are now gone. Head of Investor Relations, CFO,
and they'll be erased from the picture.
Yeah, I want to see the Photoshop version of this. It should be pretty. It's nice because they really spread out, so it should be pretty easy to remove those executives.
They should have made it a GIF where the people who've been fired dissolve into nothing.
I should also point out that of these 16 executives, only 2 are women, and one of whom
has been fired. Yeah.
So, good job on diversity.
Well, I mean, famously, it seems a bit difficult to retain your job as a senior exec at Elon's companies. Generally, I think especially if you're a woman, it seems to, I guess, give you a leg up if you're willing to have his children, but that's probably not for everyone. That was the Neuralink CEO, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Neuralink CEO had a pair of twins for him.
Hey, thank you for watching this little snippet from our big show, the News Roundtable This Week in Tech. I'm Leo Laporte. Each week we cover the week's tech news, in-depth analysis, but it's also fun and engaging. You'll find it at twit.tv along with all of our shows. And if you want more, just hit the subscribe button, and we'll be sure to bring you a lot more great content. Thanks for listening.